Hey everyone, it's Kelly. I am back with a Project Life process video. And I want to start out this video by saying this is the first time that I have recorded a video using my phone. And you're going to notice that I'm a little bit out of frame. I apologize for that. I will fix that for future videos. I think I have found a solution to make future videos a little bit better. But I do want to apologize for that starting off. I am working on week 1 of 2025 and I am using items from my Allie Edwards kits. And this is kind of a mix and match of the 2025 stories by the month. And I am also using some of the digital products. I'm going to show you here in just a second which products I used for the digitals. The card on the bottom left and the card on the bottom right, there I'm showing you the original that came in the kit. And what I did was I just created a complete white text box. And then I also had to change the color a little bit because when I printed the original digital without doing any color modification, it printed that really bright blue color and it just did not match the kit at all. So I had to fuss with the colors a little bit to make that work. I also converted the card on the bottom right. That was originally a 3x4 card that I turned into a 4x6 so I could add a little bit more journaling. The spread is very, very simple. I'm just going to be using a bunch of cards actually because this week, for the first week of 2025, it was a shorter week. So it just went Wednesday through Sunday. So I didn't have as many photos. So I'm going to be filling it up with a little bit more cards than I typically would. I'm also going to use some of those banners from the kit to add to some filler cards. That photo that I just laid down that has the paperclip on it, it just had a little bit of information about the town that I live in that I wanted to kind of blur out the name. So I just have it covered with a piece of paper for right now. And I'm going to add some stamping to a label to tuck underneath that photo just to give a little bit more context to it. You'll see it in the still shots at the end of the video how that turns out. But here I am. This layout, how I have my camera set up, is much better. You can see more of it. It's actually going to go back to being cropped a little bit tighter a little bit later on in the video. I didn't realize again that it was so tight, but it was. So I'm going to also add some stamping to some of the cards, or excuse me, some of the photos. But while I'm doing all that, I'm going to go ahead and just walk you through the week and just kind of explain the different photos that I have. I always find it interesting what people choose to add to their project life. My life is very simple and I prefer it that way. We don't do a lot. I'm very much a homebody, but I still manage to be able to fill in project life. And I am so passionate about this project. And I think everyone can do it. So let me go ahead and just kind of walk you around the spread here. Top left corner, I have a kit, or excuse me, I have a card, and it's one of my favorite cards from the kit. I just love that 24 moving into 25. I just think that is such a neat idea and just such a great card. So I have that as my title card. I will add the week to that a little bit later on. The photo that is next to that is a photo of my husband. He is someone that can fall asleep. As soon as he sits down, he is asleep, or as soon as we lay down. I am not that way. So it always just shocks me that he can fall asleep so easily. So we'll be sitting on the couch a lot of the nights watching TV and he'll fall asleep. And I will tell him, I'll wake him up and be like, "You fell asleep." And he never believes me. So I took a photo of him sleeping on the couch to show to him that he actually does fall asleep as soon as we sit down. So in the next column of photos on the very left hand side, it is a picture that I took at work. One of my jobs at work is to enter all of the gas slips for the officers at the police department that I work for. And when I came back to work, I had just went back to work this week after Christmas break. And when I came back, one of the officers had written the date up at the top. He worked Christmas Day and he wrote a little Merry Christmas note next to it. And I just thought it was so sweet. It was so nice. And it made my day. It made me smile. So I snapped a photo of that. And then in the next two slots they're just going to be filler cards. So I have that painterly looking card with the two banners and then the January stories card. Then I'll have that photo that has a picture from my hometown. It was just some local news that was going on. The bottom left-hand corner, I have a filler card. Again, it's actually a journaling card. I added a little bit of stamping to it. That is the one that I modified in Photoshop just to make it work for my needs. I actually started buying the digital kits this year because this is the first year that I have not had Studio Calico kits coming in, and I was a little bit nervous that I still wouldn't have enough cards in the Allie Award Story by the Month kit. So I started buying the digital so that way I could manipulate some of the cards and maybe print them twice if I need to. I do have a ton of cards in my stash and I plan on using my stash, but I love having a kit to go to. So that is kind of what my idea is behind using the digital kits. So you'll probably see those items a little bit more often in my videos. I know that I'm covering up a few things here. I am a super messy crafter, so these things kind of slide all over my desk as I'm working. But in the photo that's going to be next to that journaling card, or in that spot next to that journaling card, is a screenshot that I took, or not a screenshot, it was a Snapchat picture that I took on New Year's Eve. And then I just added a Hello 2025 card. And then on the right hand side of the spread, I have a photo of me drinking out of my Santa mug that I got for Christmas. I love that mug. I can't wait to start using it again. And then again, just a filler card with a couple banners. The spot next to that is a vellum card that was included in the kit, and I am going to doctor that up a little bit later on in the video because I felt like it just looked a little plain sitting there on its own. Then the photo in this next row, middle column on the right-hand side of the spread is a picture from when we went out to eat. It was just a picture of our plates, and I was just talking about the restaurant that we were at. The photo that I'm working on now is a photo of my cat sleeping on the couch, something that's very ordinary, and I added a die cut to that, and then I'm also using this half circle stamp to add a little bit of stamping. I have another Hello 2025 card there. And then the picture next to that in the black and white picture is just some pictures of my pets kind of staring at me from down the hallway. Bottom right hand side in the left slot, the picture, sometimes it's hard to describe which pictures I'm talking about here, but it's me and my husband. We're in bed, winding down for the night. He's looking at his phone. I'm reading my Kindle. And then the journaling card next to that just kind of talks about what our bedtime routine looks like. And, it's one of my favorite times of day is where, we're just kind of winding down for the day and I'm reading, he's watching videos. We usually have something on the TV in the background. So it's just something that I really, really enjoy. And it really is just one of my favorite parts of the day. So I am working on the title card now. I added some really tiny alphabet stickers, and those are from Teresa Collins. I have had them in my stash forever, but they work great on those title cards that have a big busy pattern on them. Now I'm looking at that top right hand side and I don't know, it just felt too empty. So at first I thought I would just take the packaging and cut out some of those same flowers. It's the same design. So I kind of tear the packaging apart and I'm going to fussy cut out some of those flowers, but they were too small. They didn't quite cover up the flowers that were on the vellum card. And I just wasn't really happy with how they looked on there. So you're going to see me kind of tear this packaging apart and I'm going to cut some out. And what I ultimately decide to do is go back into the digital product and I isolate some of these flowers, and I know they're going to be the exact same size as the physical product, and I'm going to cut those out and just lay them right on top of the patterned vellum card. And here's where you're going to see that I went ahead and just isolated some of those elements on the digital card. I'm going to fussy cut those out and then I'm going to adhere them right on top of that vellum card. And I debated on whether or not, which you'll see this in just a moment, on whether or not to use 3D foam adhesive to kind of pop them up a little bit, but I didn't have any 3D foam adhesive that was quite thin enough and I felt like it was going to add too much bulk. And I also had used just die cuts straight, adhered them straight down onto the cards. And I decided that I just wanted to do the same thing with these flowers. So you're just going to see me kind of fussy cut some of these out and then add them just directly onto the card. And I like it because it adds some brightness to that card. I felt like the card looked a little dark, and you can see here that you can tell a difference between the ones that are printed on the vellum and ones that are printed onto the matte photo paper. They just really kind of pop off the card, and it was just enough to add something a little bit extra to that card, and it just made it feel a little bit more complete. And one thing that I forgot to mention was I did add some brads to those little die cut banners. They already had a hole punched out for them, and I thought that I added just a little something extra. This spread is so simple, and I just wanted to add as much little details as I could. And I went with silver brads, even though the lettering on that vellum January stories card is gold. I didn't have enough gold brads, and I thought, it's fine. We'll just go ahead and mix and match the metals. All right, the still shots are going to be coming up in just a moment. And I do want to thank all of you so much for hanging in there with me. I know it's been a long time since I posted a video and I felt very, very rusty. So I hope you will all forgive me if my voiceover seemed a little bit different. I think this is only the second time I've used this editing software. And like I said, it's been such a long time, but I really appreciate all of you that have watched and stuck around, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I do kind of base the content that I post and how often I post based on the interactions that I get. So I would love if you gave this a like or left a comment. It really does mean so much to me, and it really does help give me some insight on the type of content that I should be posting more often. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I'm very happy to be back here on YouTube, and I hope that you all are happy to have me back. See you soon.